Hey, how's it going, guys? In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to build a Vision AI desktop based on OpenAI's GPT Vision model in Python. Alright, so this is going to be the application we'll be building in this tutorial. It's a beginner-friendly application, but I would highly recommend that you have some experience, at least intermediate experience, coding in Python and experience using OpenAI's API, and as well as some experience building desktop application. Now let's look at some of the functionalities that we'll be building in this application. So in this application, we'll have this field here, text field, which we are going to populate the image. All right, so here let me go ahead and select one of the images from my folder. Now here's the image that I took in St. Louis. And I forgot the name of the landscape. So here I can simply type the question. So can you tell me what is in the image? Then I can click on generate. And the application is going to send a request to OpenAI's GPT Vision model. And the model is going to analyze the image and it's going to send us a reply. The image you have provided showed the gateway arch. So that's the name of the landscape, followed by the description and the location of this landscape of the gateway arch. Now here with this status bar that tells us how many tokens we have used. And here we have this drop down that lets you select different templates. So for example, I can select general and click on select. And that's going to automatically pre-populate the prompt. Now, sometimes I may want to extract entities such as phone number, business address, or business name from the image. So I can simply click on Entity Extraction Template and select. And they'll automatically populate the prompt. And one last thing. So here with these two checkboxes, one off means that every time we send a request, the request is not going to save the message log. So this is going to be treated as the first message. And the reason why we have this option is because as you accumulate messages in the message log, and when you make an API code, so the token usage is based on the total numbers of messages that you accumulate in that conversation log. And by having this one-off option, I can save the token usage by running multiple the same requests, but only incur the charge treated as the first message. Here, let me just give you an example. So I'm going to turn this off. And I'm going to select a different message. I'm going to select my general template. I'm going to ask, what is in this image? And here we get, the image shows a white Tesla vehicle, specifically a Model 3. Now, if I want to ask a follow-up question, and you tell me more. Now, because we have this one-off checkmark or checkbox check off, so if I click on generate to send the request, and it's going to, right now the token usage is only 333. Now this time the token use is 650. And in the 650 token usage, it's actually including the request that we made from the first request. So it's going to actually taking the text from previous prompts on top of the response that we get from our last request. You can think this as getting double charge. Now, disable resizing will basically take an image and resize the image to 512 by 512. Now, if you don't know, the way how GPT Vision charge is also based on the image resolution. And by resizing the image to 512, we can significantly reduce the token usage. And clear text is going to clear everything except the prompt and the file path. And I just realized that I forgot also to show you, we also have this file option, which you can save the message logs in text file. Now that's going to be everything I'm going to show for the demo. Now stepping into the tutorial. Now before I start any project, the first thing I'm going to do is to create a Python virtual environment that is dedicated to my project or to a specific project. Now launch your terminal and let's type Python-m vmv. And I'll name the virtual environment to tutorial OpenAI Vision Desktop app and enter. And I should create a folder right here. All right, so it's still creating the files. Just give it a second. Now, once we create the virtual environment, let's set it into the folder. Then we need to activate the environment. Now, let's install the dependencies. So the first one is going to be OpenAI's Python package. And to manipulate the images, we're going to use Pillows library. Now, for the desktop application development framework, I'll be using PyQt6 and enter. And to save you on some typings, one is this OpenAI toolkit.py module. And let me launch my VS Code. Inside the OpenAI toolkit module, I have a function called compress image to bytes. So this function will look at the image resolution and also have this check in place, disable resizing. So just in case, if your image is lower than 512 resolution dimension, then this function is going to still resize in the image, but to 1280 by 720. And 1280 by 720 seems to be the ideal resolution that I found to process 99% of the images. And currently, the function will only take JPEG and PNG format. So just keep in mind that the application will only work with JPEG and PNG files. And actually, I just realized that these two are actually not needed. So let me delete these two lines. And let me go ahead and select the environment and save the file. Oh, and I forgot to mention that the output is going to be the byte string of the image. So that means that when we send a request to GPT vision model, we'll be sending the binary directly. And the reason being is because just in case, in the future, I may want to add additional functionalities, such as being able to take URL from the web to process image from the web as well. Now, the other file is going to be the CSS style sheet to make the application look pretty, I guess. And you can download the source code from the links in the description below to these two files. All right, so create a new file and save the file. I'll name the file app.py. I'm going to import the libraries. Now, here's the import statement. So there are actually quite many libraries that I'm using to create this application. So these are the standard libraries to create a timestamp, to load the image, to get the operations information and the system information from the PyQt6 framework. So if we look at PyQt6, the Qt widgets, so these are the widgets. And if are coming from other platforms, so you can think these as controls. And I'll go to them one by one as we write in the code in the video. The Qt core module is used basically mostly to do with processing. And Qt GUI is used to work with different application GUI's interface. And I think I used the image class for testing. Let me delete that line. And to connect to GPT vision model, we'll be import the OpenAI class. And finally, we're going to import the compress image to bytes function from the toolkit module. Now, this one more thing I forgot to copy over, which are the icons. These are just some of the icons that I'll be using. I'm going to delete these 3 icons since I don't need them, I think. Now, these 2 icons are used to replace the default checkboxes icon. And for the application logo, I'm going to use OpenAI's logo since this is OpenAI's desktop application. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the main window, and which is also going to be the application interface. So I'm going to create a class called myApp, and you can name this anything you want. Then we're going to assign the QMainWindow class, and it's going to be the parent class in which we're going to inherit all the attributes and methods to this myApp class. For the window size, I'm going to set that to 800 by 1000. And we can use the resize method to set the window size when we launch the window. Then we're going to set the window title and window icon. To launch the window, we're going to insert our entry point. So I'm going to insert a routine. If name is main, then I'm going to construct my OpenAI client instance. Then I'm going to create a dictionary called examples. Inside the dictionary object, these are going to be the templates that I was showing you before. Key is going to be the item that we're going to display in the combo box. And value is going to be the prompt that we're going to populate. And just in case, if I'm using a different resolutions monitor, it can be 4K, 1080p, or 2K monitor. We're going to create a variable called font size to set the default size of the application. Then I'm going to construct my application instance, and it's going to be the process that keeps the application running in the background. Then I'm going to set the application style to Vision. So Vision is going to be a little bit too modern design or modern theme. And there are a couple other different styles that you can look into. Then I'm going to apply the CSS style sheets. Now here, this code right here is going to be the application window. So here I'm going to create an instance of my app object. Then I'm going to override the style sheet with this property here. So this is going to be the font size. Then I'm going to launch the window. And when we close the window, we need to terminate the process using system.exit. Then we're going to terminate the process by using app.execution. Now here, if we simply launch the window, and this is what we get. So blank window, but we do have an icon and the window title on the top. Now, to work with OpenAI's API, in this case will be the GPT4 Vision model. I created a class called Image AI. Now let's look at the source code. So this class takes the OpenAI client instance. Inside the init method, we're going to create the client attribute. Then we're going to set the model, GPT4 Vision Preview. And once the new model comes out, you may need to update the model ID. But for now, GPT4 Vision Preview model is the only model that works with image. Messages attribute is going to store the message log. So we need to track each message individually. The first message flag is going to be used to check if this is going to be a one-off request. I'm going to set the default to true. Inside the image AI class, we have two functions. Two functions. The first function is going to be used to send the prompt with the image include. So if we look at the parameters, we're going to supply the base64 image byte string, followed by the prompt, followed by the prompt mixed tokens usage. Now here I'm going to increase the max token to 600. Then we're going to draft the message. So we need to set the role to user. Then we need to supply the content. So because we're supplying the prompt and the image all together, so we need to make sure that inside the record, we need to supply two dictionary objects. One is going to be the prompt, the other one is going to be the image. And for the image, this is going to be the syntax to send a request where the image is by 64 strings. Then we're going to append the message to the messages list. Then we're going to send the request. And once we get the response back, we need to append the response to the messages list. Then we're going to update the first message flag to false. Then return the response. The send prompt text method works very similar, except that because this is going to send the prompt as a text string. So we don't have that additional layer of complexity that we need to deal with. So we can simply draft the message, append the message to the messages list, then send the request, and append the response, set the first message flag just in case, then return the response. Now let's go ahead and create the GUI. So I'm going to create a method under my app class, and I'm naming the method initUI. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a layout dictionary. So a layout is basically an organizer that organizes your widgets. And for example, this Q feed box layout is a vertical layout manager. So when you insert a widget, it's going to insert the widget vertically one by one. And I'm going to create a layout under this main key in the self.layout dictionary. Then I'm going to create the file upload section. So here I'm creating another layout, and it's going to be horizontal box layout manager. Then I'm going to place the layout on top of the main layout. Then I'm going to insert the controls or widgets. So the first one is going to be the text field. In PyQt6, we use QLine edit widget as the text field, followed by the push button. So this is going to be the caption of the push button. And if we insert the ampersand symbol next to the letter, it's going to convert the letter to the shortcut key. Then I'm going to assign this open file dialog method to the click signal. So click signal is going to be, the signal is going to file in this case. In this case, click means that when we click the button, run this function here, or method here. And while we're still working on the Q push button object, let's go ahead and create the open file dialog method. To create a file dialog, we're going to use Q file dialog widget. And I'm naming the object as file dialog. Now for the file mode, we're going to set this to existing files. And here I notice that I have a typo. This should be singular because we don't want to select multiple files. The set name filters is going to be the default filters when you launch the file dialog. And the select name filter is going to be the default filter when you launch the dialog. In this case, I'm simply going to group these three image types into the same filter. And to launch the file dialog window, we need to run this the execute method. Now, if you don't select anything, then this method is going to return none. So here we need to insert if statement to check if a file is selected. And once the image is selected, we're going to create an image AI object. And we're going to name the object as self.imageAI attribute. And this self.output object is going to be the output text box, and which we haven't created yet. But basically we're saying that after we select image, we want to clear the output text box. Then grab the file path, then populate the file path in the QLine edit widget. Then we're going to display the image. Now to display the image, So notice that here, this is a method. So here, let's take a look at the display image method. This method takes one parameter called data. And data can be, so right now, I'm only selecting a file path. And I intended to upgrade the application to be able to accept both web URL and file path. So when we pass the argument, right now it's going to be a file path string. In PyKD6, if we want to display an image, we need to first of all create this QPixMap object to hold the image's data. Then I'm going to check the data type from the data argument. Now in this case, I want to check if the data argument value is a string and whether if the data argument is a valid file path. And if both conditions are met, then I'm going to compress the image. Now let me open the toolkit module again. So if we look at the parameters, the first parameter is going to be the file path. The second parameter is going to be the image quality. Then whether or not if we want to disable the resizing. So if we look at this line here, we're basically saying that we're going to keep the data quality to 100%. And the image resize is going to be controlled by this checkbox value. Then we're going to take this compress by object, supply it to the QByArray class. And I'm naming the output as image data. So this is the data type that I will need to create, unfortunately, to display an image based on the binary. Then we can load the data using load from data method to the PixMap object. Let me go ahead and delete the comments. And to display the image, we need to use the QLabel widget. And from there, there's a method called setPixMap. Then we need to supply the PixMap object that containing the image. Now, just in case, if the condition fail, they want to display a message in the status bar. Invalid input, please provide either byte data or valid file path. So right now, this should be file path, a valid file path. Now let's go back to the top. All right, so let me go ahead and create my status bar. So I'm going to name the object as self.status. Then I'm going to assign the widget directly to the main layout. And right here are the two checkboxes: disable resizing and one off. And let me put this on the top. So right here, I'm basically inserting the widgets to this file upload layout. Now we need to code the init UI method to insert the widget. All right, so let's take a look. I don't know if I can, okay. Right, so I don't know why the widget's not showing up. Let me try again. Let me save the file and try again. I don't think that's the issue. Okay, I see the issue now. All right, so here I forgot there's one more step that we need to take. Now this may take a little bit of time to grasp the concept, how the layout works under this QMain window widget. So the QMain window widget is basically a template that already containing different things like menus, status bar. So that means that I just realized that I don't actually need the status widget, and this should be status bar method. Because the QMain window widget already has the menu bar, not menu bar, actually both menu bar and the status bar include. So this is actually not needed. But here we need to create a blank window to hold the widgets. And I need to put this outside. Then from this main widget window, we need to set the layout that we want to use. Then we need to use this set central widget method to tell the main app class that, which is going to be the window that containing the controls. Now, if I run the application, now this time we should have something on the window. So we have this two checkboxes. Actually, you know what? I'm going to come out the style sheet. So that way that you can see the change from before we applied the CSS style sheet to after we applied the CSS style sheet. Now let me just test the file dialog. Okay, so it's working. Right now I haven't created the output widget yet. All right, so here let me insert a bookmark here so I can come back. And another bookmark right here. Now the next session is going to be the combo box session. And again, I'm going to create another layout to organize the widget for that section. Then I'm going to create the combo box. And to populate the combo box items, so we can use the add items method and we'll supply the items in an array. And to populate the prompt based on the combo box item selection, we're going to create a push button. And when we click on the push button, we're going to call this self.populate examples method. Now here, let's go ahead and create the method. So this method is pretty straightforward. So we'll retrieve the value from the combo box. Then we're going to reference the examples dictionary. So we're going to use combo box value as the key to look at the value. And to resize the widgets, in this case will be the combo box and the push button, these two widgets. So to resize the widgets to a ratio that I prefer or I think is going to look nice, we can reference the layout that containing the widgets. Then we can set the ratio of the width because we're using a horizontal box layout. So we're basically inserting the widget horizontally. So here I'm basically saying that for the first item in the layout, I want to set the width ratio to 90%. And for the second widget, I want to set the allocation ratio to 10%. So it's going to be whatever the value assigned to the second parameter. So you can set any value you want. So if we set this to 2 and 1, then it's going to be 67% and it's going to be 33%. Let me put that back. Now, just for demonstration, I'm going to come out these two lines and run the application. So right now, both the combo box and the push button are the same size. And I rather the combo box to be a little bit wider and the push button is not as wide as the combo box. Now, if we apply these two methods and run it, and that's going to resize the widgets based on the allocation here. All right, so here, let's go ahead and create the label widget to display the image. I'm going to name the label as self.imageLabel. Then I'm going to apply the CSS style sheet. And to automatically adjust the image ratio or image size when we expand the window, we need to set the set scale contents to true. And when we launch the application, because there's no image available or there's no image uploaded, so we're going to display a text, no image to display. Then we're going to insert the image label to the main layout. Right, so these two are the input and output text boxes. Now, the difference between QLine edit and QTextEdit is that QLine edit is a single line input box. First, QTextEdit is a multi-line text box. And I'll name the input box as self.prompt. And here we can set the placeholder text. minimal and maximal heights of the widget. Oh, and I forgot to mention. So here, this queue splitter widget is going to be used to hold these two text boxes. And the purpose of the queue splitter widget is allowing you to resize the text boxes. So here we have this line here that we can simply resize the size ratio between input and output. And because I set the minimal heights and maximal heights for the input box, we cannot completely hide the input text box. Now, this line here is going to add the self.prompt text box to the QSplitter object. And the setClassable method is going to, so basically we're saying that look at the first widget. In this case will be this self.prompt object. And I want to disable the classable setting. Then we're going to create the output text box. And finally, we're going to insert the generate button and the clear button. So just an FYI, so here I'm setting the minimal width to 120 for the clear button. And I'm also setting the size policy. So this is going to be the resizing policy. So basically, when I apply these two settings together, that will automatically make the button size fixed, even when I resize the window. And here I'm creating another layout to hold the buttons. Let me put this on the top. So I'm doing the same thing again as the combo box section. All right, so this is going to be the last widget, which is going to be the file menu bar. To create the file menu bar, we can reference this menu bar method and save that as into this self.menu object. And this will be the menu bar widget of the application. Then we can add the menu items. So in this case, I'm only going to create one menu item, which is going to be file. And under the file menu, I'm going to create two submenus. One is going to be the save action, which we are going to use to save the message log. And to create the submenu item, we need to create this queue action object. And it's going to be the caption of the submenu. So the cell reference here means that we want to link the action to the class itself and add it to the file menu. And we'll do the same thing too for the exit method. So this method is going to close the window. All right, so here let's go ahead and create the save method. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm creating the timestamp. Then I'm going to construct the file name. Then I'm going to append the timestamp to the file name. Then we can take the contents from both the prompt text box and the output text box. And we'll save the content as two separate lines. And this should be status bar. Then we're going to display a message in the status bar showing where the file is getting saved. All right, so let's take a look. And I don't have the attribute send request. Okay, because I haven't created the method yet. Let's create the reset method first. So I'll basically clear the text box and create a new instance of the image AI object. So this is going to clear the message log. To send a request, so basically we're taking the image and the prompt and make a request to the API GPT Vision Model API. Let's look at this method here, send request method. So this is going to be the most complex section or the most complex part in this tutorial. So this function is going to load the image data from the image label widget, which is going to be here. So we're going to load the image data as this pixmap object. And from there, I have this operation to convert the image into a regular byte string, or in this case will be byte array. And let's go here. So I'm putting this function here inside the send request method. And from there, we'll load the byte string. Then we're going to use the base64 module, the b64 encode method, to convert the byte string into the encoded string that OpenAI API will accept. Now, let me update the method name for the status bar. Oops, let me go back. Now, these are just the validations check. So I'm checking if the encoding string is provided. Then I'm checking whether if the prompt is supplied or if the prompt text is not empty. Now, this if statement is going to check if the one out is checked. If the one out checkbox is checked, they're going to create a new instance of the image AI object. And like I said before, this is going to clear the message log. Then we're going to clear the output text box. Now, this procedure here is going to check the first message flag. So here, when we reset the image AI object, the first message flag is going to get reset to 2. Now, based on the first message flag, we're going to send the request accordingly. So if the first message flag is true, they want to provide both the image byte strings and the prompt altogether. Otherwise, we're only going to send the text. We're not going to include the image. And once the API code returns something back, we're going to reference the last message from the messages list that get content to return just the text. Then we're going to append the response to the output text box, which is a prefix text assistant. Right, so let's give it a try. I think we're almost finished. I'm going to open a file. And let's do, here, let me just grab a couple images. And let's use this one. Okay, so here the image didn't get displayed. I think this one method I forgot to do. I think there's one thing I forgot to do to the push button. Let's take a look. I'm getting this built-in functional method error. All right, so let's take a look. Let's go to the populate example method. It should not populate example. It should be display image. It should be on the open file dialog. And then it's going to call the display image method. All right, so let me go ahead and insert print statement here. And I'll come out these 2 lines. Okay, so I guess the issue is with my compress function. Let me take out these 2 lines. Okay, so this is the issue. So something is not right with the compress image to bytes function. Let's take a look. So here I'm going to print the input path quality and disable resizing. I'm wondering if the argument value is invalid. Oh, I know why. It's because before I deleted these two lines, I need to put that back. This procedure here is looking at the file format, and based on the file type, then can determine how to save the image into the resize image object. All right, so let's go back. Let's try again. Okay, so that works. It's displaying the binary. Then we need to display the image by uncommenting these two lines. And let me delete the print statement. And here's the image. All right, so let me take out the print statement and let's go back. All right, so I'm going to select, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to select this photo right here. And for the prompt, I'm going to ask how much does the car cost? So right now, let's assume that we don't know the model or the maker of the vehicle. And we're trying to determine the cost of the vehicle. And it's going to be a one-off operation. And I'm going to leave this disable resizing checkbox unchecked. All right, so here I'm going to click on generate. And I'm getting another error. It's saying that this method cannot be found. Yeah, I think because, okay, I know why. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to move that method outside. Let's try again. How much does the car cost? And generate. All right, so let's take a look. So here's the output. So it's able to identify the model, which is Tesla Model X. And here's the pricing. So approximately 110,000 to 120,000 before any tax incentives. Now I want to make sure that my combo box works. So I'm going to select one of the templates and select. And I can see that the prompt got updated. Now the other thing I want to test is to make sure that the one-off option works. What color is the car in the photo? Now when I send the request, we're going to see a new response get generated instead of additional message get appended to this conversation section. So let's go ahead and send the request. Now here we get the response. I'm going to check the one-off option. I'm going to check the disable resizing. And I'm going to select one of the photos. And let's do this. So let me use this photo. I know this photo is pretty big. And right here, you exceed the image size Pillow can handle. Let me try a different image. Now here, let me uncheck the checkbox. And I'll select the same photo again. Now this time, it should display the photo. And it's what the photo looks like after we perform the resizing. Okay, so we know the disable resizing option works. Now I need to test the one-off option. So I'm going to ask, let's use the drop-down. I'm going to ask, what is in this image? And I get a response back. And actually, I forgot to make this unchecked. So let me do it again. Generate. And here's the response. Now I want to ask additional detail. So the last request used 609 tokens. Now, because we unchecked this one-off setting. So from the last response, we can see that the GPT model is able to reference previous message log. Now I want to save the prompt and the output into a text file. So I'll go to File and Save. And here's the file path where the file is saved. Now I can go into my project folder, and here's the text file. So here's the response, and here's the prompt. And one last thing, I need to put the CSS style sheet back. So let's go back. I'm going to uncomment these two lines. And launch the application. Alright, so this is going to be everything I'm going to share in this tutorial. And hope you guys find this video useful. And if you have any questions or any feedback, please leave them in the comment section below. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.